Hello, good morning students. Today we'll be learning one more practical program. That's the second practical programs. So when I was explaining data structures, I've explained this algorithm, so inserting an element into an array. So whenever we have a linear data structures, there are some operation which could be performed with the arrays. So now we have an insertion, so inserting an element at given position. So let us, how this works already, we know the algorithms. So in this class, I'm trying to explain with the programs. So we use a C++ classes and objects. That's a class we'll use. That's all. We know what is class means. Already I have defined in the last programs. That's a classes, a group of data and functions which acts on that data together is called as a class. So we create an instance. So we decide, like in this example, I'm trying to insert an element. Let me define class as an insertion. And then we go for the data, what is required. As usual, from the question, you can make out from the questions the program to insert an element into an array. So let me explain. So from the problem definition, we divide the problem, like we apply top-down approach. So we divide the problem into three subtasks. That is input, processing method, and one more is output. So let us learn how to provide the input and what is the processing method and what will be the output. So to get what is the input and what is the output, what is the processing method. So from the problem you can see there, write a program to insert an element into an array. So we need an array, we need an element, and also we need a position where the element has to be inserted. So this becomes a data. And providing the functions, like I may use get data as usual, and also I may use the function insert, and one more I'll be using display. And let us we go with one by one. So let me define class. So as we use class, so we go for the class. Let me take it as a insertion. This is a class name. So insertion. So we have a data. So private data members. So we use the first one whenever we talk about what is called array means. So we need the array, declaration of one dimension array. So along with an array, we need always subscript, and one more is the size of an array, and one more. This is becomes associated with whenever we talk about an array. An array means practically we represent. Let A be an array or M be an array with n elements means this is practical. We need these things. So in programming, this is what is the meaning of in algorithm when we say let A be an array or M be an array with n elements. So now we need element ELE, let me take it as an ELE, and also we need position. So these are the private members. I have not defined anything. So keyword, so by default they become private members. So let me define the member functions. So we have three member functions. I'm going to use the same. They do not return anything. They neither receives nor return. So first one is similar to like input also you can use, or you can use a get data, or just you can use get. So it's a function definition. Just I'm defining function. This is called prototype, declaration of function. So similarly, I'm using one more function is called insert. So this is a function which is used to insert an element into an array. And also one more I'm using, a very simple one. So that is void. The same thing, the function does not return. So display. So we use three member functions and member data already we have seen. This ends the class definition. So we only declared the functions here, but we have not defined. So let us define these functions one by one. First, let me take the first function. That is a get data. Get data means providing the value for n and creating an array m of some n elements. So that's what we try to do. And also we input the value for ELE and the value for position. So let us start with the get data. So when you define the class member function outside the class means, so we have to use the scope resolution operator, the syntax. So return type specifier, then we use a class name. So insertion followed by the scope resolution operator followed by function name. So we are using get data, and it's a function, no arguments. So let us we start with the one by one. So what is the first means? As usual, when you use an array, so enter the size of an array. You can use enter size of array. So or else you can define enter the value for n. So depending on what, you can use anything, so no problem. So enter size of an array or enter the elements of an array, the maximum number of elements in an array. So next we go for the value. That's only a message. So n is created. So for that n memory location, whatever you type from the keyboard, that will be stored in n. So if I give 5, so n becomes 5, so that you can input 5 elements. So next is we have to input those 5 elements in an array m. So therefore we use cout. So prompting the message for the user, that is to enter elements. So we use enter elements of array. Okay. So now we use, so elements means, array means more than one element. So we use for, start from I equals the first element m of 0 until it is less than n number of elements. Then I plus plus, just we input exactly similar how we input an array. I'll go up so that it will be much clearer. So I'll use here, so C in, we are entering different elements from starting from 0 to n minus 1. So less than n means it is equal to n minus 1. So we'll write m. So this will create an array, like we're writing 5, 4, 6, 3, 2, something we are writing. So that is how it will be going to create in a programming memory. That's when in a program, this is how we have to do. Let A be an array with 10 elements. We are writing the same thing. This is how the elements are present right now. So and also we need another input is the element to be inserted. So write that one. So cout. So it is enter element to be inserted. Okay, very simple. End line. So C in, so it is ELE. So we have to input one more is the position. So cout. So enter the position. Enter the position. So end line. So that is C in P. And then we got all the input, I think. So you can see that all the members will receive value except I. I is a subscript. So okay, this is what we do in get data. We supply all the value for array, the number of elements and also element to be inserted and its position where it has to be inserted. So now we go to another function, that is, let me go up so that it will be clear. So let me define now as usual return type specifier, void, the class name, insertion, followed by scope resolution operator, followed by the function. I'll use insert function. So let me do this insertion procedure. So once we know input the position, first we have to validate. So sometimes we may input any number, P, enter the position here, you can see here, P may be 20, P may be 100, P may be 10,000. So that is, it should be a valid. So P is valid means it should be less than n. So a array exists from 0 to n. If it is greater than n, there is no place to insert an element. So that condition we have to check. That's how computers, or like we have seen computer works like its own intelligence. This is how mathematically it works. So very simple. What we do means, first before we start inserting, so we check that position is valid or not. How means if the input position P is greater than n means it's invalid. So P should be less than or equal to n. So if P is greater than n means, so we do not have, that is a invalid position. So that's what we have to write. So write cout, display the message saying that, so invalid position. Okay, so it's an invalid position. So after that, once it is an invalid position, means we have to stop the program. So there is nothing to be done. So we use the exit function. So exit, you can use 1 or 0 argument. So that's all. So otherwise, so it's a proper. So it is between 0 to n minus 1. So we have to insert means first we have to create the vacant space from that position till the last element. Already I have explained. So whenever we insert somewhere in the middle means, so where is the other end? That's a dead end, opposite end. So where the size of an array is there. So there we move the elements from that position to the last element. All elements will be shifted to their higher order position. So if you are remembering algorithm, check out the algorithm which already I have explained. The same technique I'll be using, but I wrote it there in algorithm. So I'm using for I is equal to p to p n minus 1 down to p. That's what we wrote. So here it's a programming way we write exactly similar for, we take from the last element I equals n minus 1. That's the last elements of an array. So its I is greater than or equal to p, that is till the given position. So I minus minus, it has to be decreased. So down to, we are using decreasing loop. So what we do means I minus, right now we have an element. So where we do not have element, so it is m of I plus 1. So I is the last element. So m plus 1 means it becomes next higher order position. So there we copy m of I. So very simple. So what is I means? Last element is moved to its higher order position. Similarly, n I minus minus, so last but one will be moved to the last position. Similar way it will be keep repeated. So I've explained this one in algorithm. You can check the video or maybe you can check the notes also. I think it's very simple. So starting from last element till the given position, all the elements are moved, shifted to higher order position. So when it becomes P, we quit. So that is where we have to insert the element. So there what we do means we copy, that is you can use I also or you can use P also. M of P right now we don't have, that's empty now, it's shifted. So there we copy the element, or even you can use I also, both are same. So after this what happens, so the size of an array after inserting, so it becomes one more, so we use n plus plus. So then this is the end of this insertion. This is what we do in the insertion function. The insertion function is first is to validate the given position is valid or not. If it is valid, continue. If it is not valid means stop. Invalid positions, display the message and stop, quit. Otherwise, we insert using this process. I think it's very simple. Move all from the last element till the given position. All the elements will be shifted to higher order from I to I plus 1. All are shifted to higher order position, and at that given position becomes vacant. There you add the new element. And this is totally now number of elements increased by 1. Previously we had 5, because ELE one more element, so it becomes 6. That's why we use n plus 1. So next is displaying. So displaying is very simple. We're displaying one dimension array. So same procedure, void return type specifier, then class name. So what's the class name means? Insertion. Okay. Then scope resolution operator. Then we have a function display. Display. Okay. Then we'll display. So very simple one. There we use cout. Display the message. So what is array after insertion? How our array looks like after insertion. That's what we are trying to do here. Okay. So use n line. So whenever we talk about array means it starts from subscript, that's 0 to n. So array means n elements. So I equals 0, I is less than n, I plus plus as usual. So display here cout. I will be using set width so that it will come with some space. I'll give 2. Then we use the array name, so m followed by subscript I. Then we use semicolon. So this completes the display. Okay. this is program is over. And sorry, this class functions are over. Then we'll come to the main program. So what's the main program? Starts here. I'll write go up here so that it will be much clearer. So our main program start from here. Void main. So just it's after this just creating an object. It's like abstract we are talking about. So feature you can see here. So what's the class name? So insertion. Okay, let me define an object I. You can use OB also. After that, call the member function I dot get data function, the member function, and then call I dot insert function, then I dot display. This is how functions looks like. Okay. So one thing we have used exit function. For that we have to use the header file process.h or std standard lib.h. So let me use process.h. So hash include, we use so process process.h. So I have to include this. Let us see is there any error or not. Okay. Oh, we got one word, lucky. So what is the error? It says insertion is not a member. Get data. So it is get data. A is missing. Okay, this is clear now. So we'll use the other thing like clear screen. We'll modify, update this one. Otherwise, let me make the output screen clear. So for that we use CLR, SCR, it's a function. And then at the end, so let us wait for any character input. Get character. So it's a function, wait. So everything is correct. It's up to date. Let us execute now. So enter the size of an array. I'll give 5. So enter the elements of an array. I'll give like any numbers in 3, 5, 7, 2, 6. So we have 5 elements. 3, 5, 6. Okay. So enter the element to be inserted. Let me go for 4. I want to insert 4 at, I'll give here, so 0, 1 after, before 7, that is 0, 1, 2 I'll give. Okay. So now after this it becomes like 3, 5, 4, 7, 2, 6. That also you can see. 3, 5, 4, 7, 2, 6. That is where it is inserted. You can see there. So we had 5, after 5 we had 7. So that is where position I have given 0, 1, 2. So this is how this algorithm, or it's a programs for inserting an element into an array. I think it's not much difficult. So what I did means, starting from this position, all the elements are shifted. So shifted to IROR, that is starting from 6 will be moved to the, you can see the, you can make out from there. So position you can see 6 is shifted and 2 is also shifted and 7 is also shifted and 4 is inserted. How it is done means, that's where we wrote m of I plus 1 will be m of I. So starting from the last column, that's how it is done. I think it's very simple. You can check the algorithm. If you have doubts, let me know. Okay. So this is an algorithm, or this is a program for inserting an element into an array. Okay, this is a program. So you can see that I did it 3 different parts. The first one, you can see class definition. So from here to here, it's a class definition. You can see this part is class definition. So we have a member functions and also we have a data member. Then we took one by one. So this is the get data till here. Okay. So this is to input all the necessary input for, like we need an array. So we enter the size, we enter the elements of an array and also element to be searched and also the position. So next what we did means, so we go for insert and how to insert an element. So this is first we validate whether it is a valid position or not. If it is not valid, we stop. Exit means it terminates the program. Otherwise, move the last element to the given position, all the elements are shifted. And then M of, that's what, higher elements are shifted, and at that position vacant space is created. There we copy this element and we increase the number of elements by 1, n plus plus. And display is most simple one, very simple. So displaying an array, one dimension array. So after this we discussed one more, the main function. So here we create an object I, and I dot get data, I dot insert, I dot display. Okay, so we'll continue the next program.